Good morning. Comac is the Commercial Aircraft Corporation of China. They're an airplane manufacturer and they're moving aggressively into the passenger aircraft market. Currently, this market is a duopoly, which is a market served primarily by two providers, Boeing and Airbus. Boeing is a US company and Airbus is European. China has ambitions to be an aerospace superpower by 2035. And we dropped a presentation about it and showed how they're already ahead of schedule to do so. Recent developments in Airbus and Boeing are accelerating this process further and faster. We mean here that the momentum strongly favored Comac's takeover of commercial aviation anyway, and lately serious problems at Boeing and Airbus are moving things along even faster. It comes down to supply chains again. China has them and we don't. Where we have shortages, they have surpluses. Where we have shortage of trained technicians and engineers, they have plenty. 7 times more graduating every year. So we have to begin there. Where we have shortages, they have surpluses. China and Comac have good reasons to be very optimistic about their growth prospects for commercial aviation. In the left column is the 2023 ranking of the passenger airline travel market. China is already the second largest market, and almost all these passengers today are flying on planes made by Boeing or Airbus. There's a handful of other manufacturers too, but it's basically a duopoly. Let's jump ahead to 2042 though, the middle column. By 2042, all the planes being flown now will be replaced by newer ones, first of all. And by 2042, China is now the biggest market. Thailand goes from number 19 to number 10. Vietnam will go from number 20 to number 11. And the markets everywhere are going to be growing. But in the developing world is where the demand is going to grow the fastest. The global market will double by 2042 and go up 2.5 times by 2052. And the growth will mostly come from the emerging and the developing economies because of urbanization, population increases, and a lot of people with a lot more money to spend. So there are huge parts of the world that have never bought planes and they will be buying them. Comac will own these new markets by default. Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, Turkey, Brazil, Russia. Figure all of today's BRICS countries will be Comac's customers to lose. China's economic and diplomatic ties to these countries are much stronger than ours, and they'll be even stronger as time goes on. And with respect to commercial aircraft, Boeing and Airbus can't produce planes for the customers that they already have. Ryanair is a major buyer of Boeing airplanes. They were warning their investors and customers back in February that problems at Boeing were causing a lot of problems for them. Ryanair would be cutting routes and raising fares because Boeing cannot deliver the planes that were ordered. The airline paid for 57 planes, but only about 45 will be coming. And it's not just planes, it's parts. There's a shortage of parts for jet engines, cabins, fuel systems, and that was already having an effect on airline scheduling in North America and Europe last year, and things are worse in 2024. These shortages push back delivery plans and obviously profits and cash flow. We have a severe shortage of people on top of all that. Oliver Wyman estimates the shortage of aviation maintenance techs at around 18,000 people now. And it's only going to get worse. By 2027, there will be a shortage of 43,000 workers just to repair and maintain planes. So we don't have enough parts, we don't have enough planes, we don't have enough people to properly maintain and repair aircraft. This all becomes a self-reinforcing spiral. The Boeing 787 is a dreamliner. This article is about Boeing engineers and Boeing management arguing about who knew what, when, about the design and manufacturing problems on the 787. This engineer said that Boeing was taking shortcuts, which led to errors that will reduce how long the planes will be able to fly. Boeing also famously is having problems with their 737s, and regulators are looking at those issues too in quality control and manufacturing. And deliveries for the Dreamliner, the 787, were stopped for almost 2 years, started up again in 2022, then stopped again. So Boeing is struggling to deliver new planes that have already been paid for by Boeing's customers. So airlines are responding by looking for older planes and fixing them up. They're spending billions of dollars to keep old planes in the air, even though older planes need more fuel. And they need to cut routes because they're still short planes. 19% fewer aircraft this year than they'd hoped to have, which their customers have paid big deposits for. That's globally. In the United States, it's even worse. About a third fewer new aircraft than they'd planned because of problems with the 737. Boeing slowed production schedules for the 737 after mid-air problems starting in January with the Air Alaska incident and after crashes previously. Airbus also has problems that need to be resolved. 650 A320s need to be grounded to have their engines repaired. Industry-wide, airlines are already 3,000 aircraft short of what they need to operate safely and profitably, and this again means flying older planes for longer. So Comac is going to have the China market, which is going to be the biggest in the world. China will need to buy over 7,000 new planes, and almost all those orders will go to Comac, and with some to Airbus, and almost none of them going to Boeing. We explained why in the previous video that we'll link to, that Airbus will be able to do business here, but Boeing probably not. Comac is also likely to have most of the new markets that are coming in developing countries. If you're a purchasing manager for an airline in South America or Africa or Asia, none of these headlines from Airbus and Boeing should inspire any confidence at all. If American Airlines and Delta and Ryanair and Lufthansa can't get the planes they've already ordered, where do you think you're going to be? So we expect that Comac is going to get the biggest share of the developing world markets, which is most of the new aircraft demand anyway. Comac can build planes, and our companies cannot. But Comac now is pushing into our markets, and quickly. Comac has petitioned to have their aircraft certified for use in European markets, but it's been a slow process. Here are headlines from just this spring. Fortune said by 2026 was probably too soon for Comac's C919 to be approved to fly in Europe. 2026 isn't that far off, actually, just 18 months. In March, regulators from the European Union said there's no hurry at all. The C919 is a completely new aircraft. They're going to take their time to make sure everything is just right before the 919s roll out in Europe, and it might take years. But here was the headline just this week. The Europeans are coming over to inspect Comac's manufacturing centers and continue certification on the 919. It's very simple to understand what's happening now. Airbus is a European company with tens of thousands of Europeans making airplanes, but they can't make them fast enough. And European airlines and passengers can't fly. And they can forget about getting planes from Boeing. China can make planes and we can't. China can build spare parts and we can't. China can find and train technicians and mechanics and we can't. If Airbus and Boeing could do the job, the European Union regulators could afford to take their time and drag their feet. There would be no hurry. But European airlines don't have planes. They've ordered billions of dollars worth of planes, they haven't arrived, and they need to cut routes and raise fares and buy old planes to try to make those work instead. So regulators at the EU are coming over, and they'll be fast-tracking things for Comac and the 919. Boeing and Airbus would be in a tough fight anyway, even if everything were going well for them, because China is determined to take over this industry. China's strategy in passenger aircraft is the same one they use to take over similar industries such as maritime and high-speed rail. We are now here, where China will continue working with key foreign partners in this industrial space, Airbus namely. Airbus has a very good reputation in China, and assembly plants too. On the bottom of this strategy is international expansion. Comac's expansion into the fastest growing markets was going to happen anyway. What's surprising is how quickly things are unraveling at Boeing and Airbus, and for their biggest customers. Once regulators approve the C919 in Europe, it'll be just a matter of time before Comac is taking Boeing's customers there too. This is Mount Kailash, in Tibet. Be good.
The bosses and managers in our companies, the mayors and police in our towns, the governors and kings and presidents. We ask for a revival in this part of the world.